非常荣幸的邀请到2位和平使者，一位是诺贝尔和平奖的得主，一位又是东方的传奇禅门泰斗乌勒大师。刚才呢，主持人校长给大家介绍了一下莱伊玛和博维，那么我在这里也简单介绍一下乌勒大师。乌勒大师呢，在中国是一位非常重要的禅门泰斗。在中国有一个特别的门派，叫做临济宗，而乌勒大师就是临济宗的45代祖师。这在中国是一个非常重要的门派，所以我在这里也是特别的介绍一下乌勒大师。在我们计划的开始呢，我想问，莱伊玛，您刚刚看了乌勒交响乐团的演出，你有什么感受可以跟大家分享一下？
Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me here. Thank you. One of the things that was interesting to me as I listened was the fact that the symphony or the orchestra transcended culture. It wasn't just Chinese, it was a little bit of Spanish, Italian, and everything. And I think the world that we live in today, where there's so much divisions based on ethnicity, race, and all of these things, I think the orchestra and the music they presented tonight is a clear manifestation of where we want to see our world. We can be diverse, but we can also appreciate every other culture. And I think this is what peace is all about.
不光音乐鼓舞人心，同时呢，乌勒大师特别的指挥也深入在了我们每个人的心中。所以我也特别想问问乌勒大师，您当时在指挥的时候，您最享受的是哪一刻呢？
我最享受的是观众对我的鼓励，他们热烈的掌声，让我深受感动。而且今天我能和这位伟大的女性坐在一块儿，和在座的这些热爱和平的这些高尚的朋友坐在一块儿，本身我就感到很幸福。
我们都知道，在今天这个充满冲突和不安的时代，和平显得比以往更为珍贵。我在这里呢，也想问一问2位和平使者，共同思考一个最根本的问题：和平对你们来说意味着什么？
Thank you. Many years ago, when I was just a young girl and my country went to war, I was 17 when the war started in Liberia. I had just finished high school. And for 14 years, we went in circles. For 14 years, at that time, our population was 3 million. We were able, through the war, to kill 10% of our population. The Liberian War is documented as one of the worst civil wars in all of Africa. In those days, my idea and the concept of peace was let the wars stop. Peace for me was ending wars. 14 years later, myself and a group of women came together and we started a movement that today is recognized across the world as one of the major contributors as the work that the women and myself did, both Christian and Muslim women, is seen as one of the major contributors to ending the war. If you go on YouTube, there is a documentary called Pray the Devil Back to Hell. And it talks about the work that we did. Today, as I sit here, peace for me is not just the absence of war. Peace is the presence of conditions that give dignity to all. Peace is when everyone can have a warm bed, a meal to eat, when their rights are respected, when women and girls can exercise their rights, when people of other determination are not suppressed or oppressed. Peace is when might is not right. There are some nations in our world today, because they are mighty, whatever they do, they think is right. So peace is when every human being, you, myself, regardless of our color, regardless of our ethnicity, can have a life of dignity and respect.
刚才他说的有一句话我特别触动，他说和平不仅是没有战争，它是一种尊重和理解人的方式。那我相信这和我们的禅宗也是非常类似的，所以也想请乌勒大师去来聊一聊，您认为和平意味着什么？
我是为和平而生的人，我将和平视为我的人生使命。 我会为宣传和平，直到生命的最后一刻。
在您看来，这种人类的暴力它源自何处呢？
暴力源于人心的贪婪、私心。
Dino? Can you go in the back and bring me the bottle of water and 2 cups? I just want to illustrate something. Most times I ask people, what is the difference between Hitler, or what is the similarities that Hitler and Dr. King have? What do they have in common? If I ask in this room, what do you think Hitler and Dr. King, Martin Luther King, have in common? Everyone would say nothing, right? What I believe is that all of us have violence or anger in us. Violence and anger is like this. It's very fluid. Hitler had this. Martin Luther King Jr. had this. Nelson Mandela had this. Mother Teresa had this. The difference, and this is to answer the question between a hero and a villain, is that when we are confronted with violence, we have 2 options: the violent container or the non-violent container. So we are not different. All of us are 1 minute away from either being a murderer or being a peacemaker. The 1 minute is your ability to take a deep breath and either pour your anger into the violent container or pour it into the non-violent container. So like the Master said, we all carry it in us. What makes us different from the other is how we express our anger. As a young girl, living through war, I was very angry. If I had gone Maybe one day I was going to use it, but I knew that violence had taken my community far from development, far from peace, far from common life. And I wanted to live a better life. I wanted to be different. So instead of pouring my anger into a violent container, I decided to put it into a non-violent container. So all of us carry good, all of us carry bad, all of us carry anger, all of us carry violence. What distinguishes me and you from those who are behind bars is the expression of our anger, is the expression of our emotions. So today the question is, when you are confronted, where do you want to put it? Violent container or non-violent container?
在这里呢，我也想问一下乌勒大师，您带领数百位僧众从马达加斯加远赴欧洲来弘扬音乐弘法，你用音乐来传递这种和平的力量。您认为音乐是如何帮助人类来治愈这种伤痛，并跨越这种文化的隔阂呢？
欧洲有句言语叫做“音乐是上帝的语言”。这是我年轻的时候学音乐，也学习到西方这个言语。音乐它确实具有超越语言、超越文化、直击心灵的功能因此我选择了用音乐来教导我们门派的僧人，也用音乐来弘扬我们门派的和平、善、爱。
当时您作为这次第一站是远赴咱们意大利，尤其是今天这个水城市威尼斯，您有感受到一种禅宗的宁静吗？
意大利是个伟大的国家，它有有深刻理解力的伟大人民。我还在年轻的时候，我就看过《威尼斯商人》这本书。那时候我对威尼斯充满了好奇和神往。今天能来到这里，我感到无比的荣幸，特别是和在座的这些和平的高尚人士在一起，这是我今生的极大荣耀和成就。
我最近一直在看您的那个纪录片，还有您的一些故事。您曾用勇气与爱号召上千万的女性，结束了利比亚长达4年的战争。在面对仇恨与暴力时，是什么让您相信爱，并依然相信这是最强大的力量
？First, there are two questions. The first question is, having visited Venice many times, and I have a 16-year-old daughter who happens to be my regular companion when I come to Venice. So I have some very precious memory of being in Venice with her, walking the streets, shopping, whilst doing social justice work. Last year, we were here for Diane von Furstenberg Award ceremony. How do I sustain myself? I recognize that I'm at a place of privilege, a place of blessing, and that not many women in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East have been blessed as I am. There are women in many communities tonight who are suffering. They do not have food to eat. Their children have nothing to eat. Some of them are on the move because of war. That thought is the inspiration for me to keep going. Every time I think about women, even in my own community, who are disenfranchised, I tell myself, I have no reason to give up. I must use my voice. I must use my resources. I must use everything that I have to keep inspiring this generation, the next generation, and to keep working for peace. The second question you asked was, have I used meditation? As a Christian, I profess Jesus as Lord. Songs, prayers, and meditations are really important to me. Because you see, the world that we live in, and I mentioned that earlier, and where we go, things I see in war zones, if you do not have an understanding that there is a power greater than you, you will just lose your mind. So for me, my faith is an anchor. You know, like you have the boats, they have to be anchored so that they don't float away. My faith is my anchor, because without my faith, I'll probably float away with madness.
慈悲与和平本身就是人性，我们用音乐呼唤这个人性的善、爱、和平，这就是我们禅修的全部。怎么让更多的人能认识到他内心是有善、有爱、有和平的，这就是我们禅修的使命。我很早就知道这位伟大的女性，因为她用个人的力量，这个宣传了成千上万的女性，平息了他们国内的这种战乱和暴力，这绝非一般人能做得到的。我问我自己，我是个和平使者，我能做到吗？我做不到，因为我没有这位女士这样这种与生俱来的组织能力、号召能力、语言能力和高尚的人格魅力。这是巍巍高山，让我仰止。
Well, I don't necessarily have a question, but what I do have is a comment that what the Master has, a lot of us are looking for, and that is inner peace. Today, a lot of us are too busy to stop we're in too many, there's no peace inside for a lot of people. And I think just his life and his legacy that really brings out that peace that everyone is fighting for is something that we all should follow. And I thank him for being that person in a world where there's so much crisis that he exhibits inner peace. That's the first thing. The second thing is that there are so many angry people in the world today. People are angry, people are sad. Happiness is so far away from everything that we do that he has dedicated his life to bringing music and dance and joy across culture. That is something that he will be remembered for. And I think he says that I've done some things, but I think he's done a lot more. And I pray that by the time I'm getting to 80, I will be this young and I'll look this good.
It's a very simple question, but in the same moment, a very difficult question. What is for you both, the meaning you feel inside for the word peace?
I think for me, peace is life. Peace is our collective humanity. Peace is looking at you and seeing me, and looking at me, hopefully you see me. Peace is the one connection that we have regardless of our skin color, and that is the color of the blood that we all share. So in these moments of anger, of hate, of wars, of genocide, for me, peace is how we embrace each other. Peace is how we show compassion for each other. Peace is how we understand that we are all tied together. That for me is peace in this moment.
和平是我的生命，和平是我的使命。这个世界充满了不确定性，因此我们要极尽全力呼吁和平。
我们在和平上，我们年轻人，我们可以做一些什么事情？我们比如说，我们今天来看了音乐会，我们睁开了我们的眼睛。可是我们的朋友他们没有这个文化上，我们可以做一些什么事情？
我们可以从自己做起，和平一定是从自己做起，让自己和平，让家庭和平，让亲朋好友和平，才能让社会和平。
Well, I think she's speaking from the position of no war in your community. But I think even in the absence of war, there are many things that happens in our community, like racism, like separation, that young people, cyberbullying, on social media, people are bullying others. Young people can use their voices now, use their agency to speak up about these things. Even if you live in Italy where there is no war, But there are also refugees amongst you. How are you relating to them? How are you showing them your humanity? How are you showing them compassion? These are all things that young people need to begin to think about. Because you see, the world that we live in, we can decide that we're okay. Like one of the things that I tell my students is that comfort, the word comfort, C-O-M-F-O-R-T, is a bad word now. Because most people, when they are comfortable, they don't have time for others. So we should be uncomfortable being comfortable, if that makes any sense to you. Because if you are uncomfortable being comfortable, it means you are watching the world, you are watching the community, and you are telling yourself, what little can I do to change the world, even if there are not bombs dropping in my neighborhood?